I know this is the part where I usually say something clever or witty just to kind of, throw in a joke at the very beginning of the review to get you guys hooked and reeled in. But quite honestly, I got nothing here. I mean, what else do you expect from me? I'm not reviewing the next 2001: A Space Odyssey or Citizen Kane here. I'm talking about Peter fucking Rabbit. Okay?
Peter Rabbit is an oddly infuriating film. Not necessarily because it's bad, though admittedly it is very, very, very bad, but because of how the film is simultaneously detestable, all while being slightly entertaining enough to keep your attention.
As I said, infuriating. It's a bad movie that has one or two good elements that make you stay interested just enough where you don't leave the theater, but it's still just so...
And I guarantee you that what keeps your asses in the theater sure as hell won't be the story. The plot follows literal animated rabbits who live in a beautiful English countryside. Peter, a mischievous rabbit, is the head of a rabbit family who leads his sisters and cousin into trouble by how he likes to raid his neighbor's garden, who straight up wants to murder them in response.
Sounds fucking reasonable to me.
However, the neighbor, old man McGregor, dies of a heart attack and his estate is inherited by a younger McGregor who hates rabbits as well. Which admittedly this makes the younger McGregor seem counterintuitive and pointless from a screenplay perspective, but what makes him different is that he's young and hot and attracts the attention of the neighbor Bea, who had previously been very friendly to Peter and his family of rabbits, but are worried about her allegiance as she is being won over by a rabbit-hating asshole.
So this is more or less a partially animated rom-com for kids, but the love that Peter Rabbit feels towards Bea, boo, I'm really bad with names, I'm sorry. Anyway, his love towards her is more maternal, so there won't be any ugly bestiality in this film. I really hope that doesn't disappoint my subscriber base.
Firstly, what's really worth noting about Peter Rabbit is that you can most certainly tell by just taking a cursory glance at the footage that this film is definitely not a faithful adaptation of the classic Peter Rabbit books by Beatrice Potter, so if you are hoping for lighthearted and heartwarming fare, be prepared to be disappointed when you see Peter Rabbit try to shove a carrot up an old man's ass.
I really wish I was kidding.
And if that fucking nonsense isn't enough, prepare to learn how modern, by which I mean commercialized, your childhood character has become. So you too can hear characters created decades ago, say dated by yesterday pop culture references, and watch very detailed animated birds sing "I'm Not Afraid" by Eminem in synchronized flying dance choreography.
Personally, hearing that song was my favorite part of reading the novel.
Okay, so it's not a good adaptation, fine, but a film can be a bad adaptation but still be a good movie. Hell, Stanley Kubrick made a career of making legendary movies that bastardize the source material.
So it must be said that a film must succeed on its own merits, and unfortunately, Peter Rabbit is very lacking in that department.
The biggest problems are the characters and the film's hyper-goofy tone, because to put it bluntly, I hated all of the animated characters. They're irritating as fuck and are written to be self-aware to how ridiculous everything is, but the film no way earns this quote-unquote cleverness, and is quite overbearing in its witless wisecrack and how it has ADHD in terms of what it's focused on.
Like, for example, they self-mockingly point out, how the rabbits wear jackets, which, they're like, isn't it weird how we wear jackets? Rabbits don't do that! And they don't act like humans either! Ha! Fucking ha!
What's awful is that shit like this breaks your immersion into the film's world. Like, prior to those on-the-nose jokes about how the rabbits have human-esque characteristics are suspensions of disbelief, except the fact that in this lighthearted kids movie, rabbits would wear jackets, or sit in chairs, or know what a candelabra is. The audience understands this under the order of suspension of disbelief. A film creates a world with its own logic and rules. Like in the movie Cars, we accept that cars talk and need to go to sleep in those movies, but there is never a moment where fucking Larry the Cable Guy looks straight at the camera and says, "Isn't it weird that cars talk?" Because it would sever our suspension of disbelief, because yes, it is fucking weird.
When the animated characters point out how weird it is, you just go, yeah, that is fucking weird, and it takes you out of the movie, and makes you wonder why the human characters can't recognize this odd behavior from the animals. Like, are the rabbits like the descendants of a family from Chernobyl?
Worse is that these on-screen inconsistencies manifest towards the end of the film, where one of the rabbits speaks, actually fucking speaks, to a human character, even though that prior to this moment in the movie, it is never established that rabbits can fucking speak to humans, or speak English, or speak any language other than... That's what a rabbit sounds like. Sorry.
So why the fuck don't the animals talk to humans? The fucking McGregor guy would be so far less inclined to murder your whole family if you just said, "Don't fucking stick me in a pie and eat me!"
And worse is that the film doesn't even give a reason as to why the rabbits remain silent. It's not like Toy Story where it's expressed at the beginning that there's this like understood code between the toys that they are not supposed to talk to people. But Peter fucking Rabbit is so poorly written that plot details like this were left out in favor of convenience.
Seriously, every problem in this movie could have been solved if the rabbits just talked!
Additionally, some of the incoherent ADHD-natured humor of the film is in poor taste, particularly in a scene where the rabbits purposefully trigger an allergic reaction to blackberries in McGregor that is so severe that he has to use an EpiPen to survive.
I love it when our heroes from children's films should be convicted of attempted murder.
Funnily enough, people were actually upset about this because they thought it trivializes and pokes fun at a serious health issue that affects many people to the point that Sony Pictures actually apologized.
Yeah, definitely one of the odder controversies this year.
Moving back to the film, there is one aspect of Peter Rabbit that is absolutely stellar and salvaged this whole movie from being a total waste of time, and it actually allows Peter Rabbit to be moderately enjoyable, and that is Domhnal Gleeson's performance as the young McGregor.
You probably recognize this actor as General Hux from the new Star Wars trilogy. So just imagine his miserable and always disgusted looking mug want to berate and exterminate a bunch of rabbits. Like, he's so endearingly detestable that I actually kind of love him. And he's sympathetic because, as I've said in this review, I hate the rabbits too. Fucking destroy them!
And yeah, that's quite a telling thing about Peter Rabbit, that I found the antagonist and his motivations much more enjoyable and sympathetic than the protagonist, to the point that I cheered for Peter Rabbit to be decapitated. And with that, Peter Rabbit is an unfocused, rarely funny, obnoxiously witless film that I can't wait to forget about save for one truly standout performance.
My recommendation for this movie is skip it. Though, if you do have to watch it, you will be entertained by Gleeson's performance, admittedly. But skip it if you can. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the review. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you next time.